this is where all of my desires started to really kick off here.
There is a Brooklyn sound? Do you think we can hear that in your music in some way?
That's a great question. Yes and no. I think there's sort of a Brooklyn sensibility, or a Brooklyn, because I'm from here, I was born and raised here, and I grew up here. This is my jumping off point for everything in my life. I believe that there's a certain sensibility that I have coming from here and coming from the era that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and there was a whole lot of things going on culturally, and the all of America was going through a shift and going through a change. And I was right in the middle of all of that. That's what I grew up with. The East was important because I found a cultural home, a place where I could learn about myself, learn about my culture, learn about my history, learn about music, learn about politics from a African and Pan-African perspective. So it's one thing to go to school and you have your history books and your textbooks and you're learning what is in that's what you're presented with. And it's another thing to go to an institution where they say, well, wait a minute, Columbus didn't really discover America. This is really what happened. This is really the history of this country. And then you can sort of see a more clearer picture. And that's what I got from the East. It gave me a clearer picture of a lot of who I was, my history, my ancestors, and it was a great cultural institution to have in the neighborhood. And I also got to hear some amazing music, like Tootie and Percy Heath, the Heath brothers, Max Roach. I mean, all kinds of great music and musicians came out of the East. This one little building, it's right here on this block here, Claver Place, called Haribu Dawa Nahai, Destroy Drugs and Live in Swahili. And I sold the paper for 5 cents, brought the money back to them. It wasn't really about the money. I think it was about me disseminating information to my peers that was counter to what we were reading in the textbooks and what they were teaching us in the institutions of the Board of Education. So this was a really important place where I would come to and I would learn about music and culture, the East. So I believe all of that informed my music and informed me and made me who I am. There's a saying, they say that the New York musician brings the fire, the LA musician brings the air. There's that, they say that New York, because New York is so dense and everybody's on top of each other, we have this sort of fiery approach to our performances or to music. Whereas LA, it's open, and they have the mountains and the sea, and they have space, and they bring the air, so it's more light and it's not as intense. Mm-hmm. So I think I have a little bit of that fire coming from Brooklyn, coming from New York, for sure. I think also all of the things that we will see today and that we're going to experience, you'll see that you can see how I could be informed by my environment and my surroundings and how I grew up and what I witnessed and observed. I just live 2 blocks from here, and it's great to come over here and get a little break from home and see the fountain and the arch and have Prospect Park right there. There's this female percussionist that I saw in a TED Talk talking about drumming, and she was playing these drums. I said, wow, man, the drum sounded so cool. I got to get a set of those drums. And then I saw this woman from Kenya at the African Street Fair downtown Brooklyn, and she was selling a bunch of these, and I just bought them. I bought them all. So it's a great sounding drum. It's so warm, and the tones are just pure, and it's not a whole lot of overtones. This is just a pure tone drum. You know, when I play my congas, I like wood congas because you don't get a lot of overtones. I like just the pure tone of the drum. Fiberglass drums sometimes are kind of hard to control because you get a lot of overtones and a lot of ringing, and then some people like it. I don't have a problem with people who play fiberglass drums and they could wear the drums out. But me personally, I like wood drums. She had some other ones that were not to my liking. So
You're known for your sound. So how did you cultivate them? I know these are big questions, but how did you start by modeling on other musicians that you loved, or did this come out of what you've experienced? How did you pick your sound?
yeah, well, that's a great question. So I used to practice when I was young in my room. I had all of my gear set up, all of my stuff, all of my toys and my drums and drums and sounds from all over the planet because I'm into African percussion, Brazilian, Cuban. I mean, I'm into world sound. And I would turn on the radio and I would play to the radio. So whatever I heard on the radio, I would listen to the percussion parts that I heard on the radio, and then I would emulate those parts and copy them. And then my ego and my arrogance would take over, and I'd say, you know what? That's not how we should have did it. This is how it should really sound. And then that's how I developed my own sound. Through emulation first, and then I started my own improvisation, and then I came up with the creation of what I thought it should sound like. So I would play to hit records on the radio, like Motown or whatever, and I would hear something and I would go, wow, you know, that's cool, but maybe it should have been done this way. And I would play the part that I thought would fit better. And it helped me to develop, to learn the giants that laid down the foundation. I mean, because I had to learn that first, and then I've tried to better it. I tried to do something that I thought sounded better, and it helped me to develop as a musician. And that's how I came up with my own sound. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I also think a lot of it is channeling. A lot of it is leaving yourself open to what comes through you when you're experiencing the music. And you have to sort of be open and accept and mold what it is that comes to you, and then you're able to, you know, to execute it. Yeah. I'll give an example, like Madonna's record Holiday. I played on Holiday, right? And when I heard the record, I said, well, wow, what am I going to play on this? And as I was listening down, what I heard was holiday, celebrate. So I'm hearing this in my head, and I'm thinking, well, wow, what is that going to be? And then I grabbed the cowbell and I said, oh yeah, this is it. And that's a big part of that record. That really is sort of like the percussion groove for that record. So that's how I try to leave myself open to what comes through me. Yeah. Sometimes it just might be a rhythm like a it just might be that. Then I have to go for the instruments that fit what that feeling is. So I think that's how my sound sort of got developed.
That's very interesting, and it goes back to my question about what comes first. And for you, what you described is you had the rhythm, which led to your hook, your words, and then the verse happened.
Yeah.
It's like the rhythm in some way opened the door to the content.
Yes.
There, but how far is it to where you grew up?
Not that far, about 7 minutes.
Okay.
6-minute drive. It's fairly close. Bed-Stuy is not that far away.
Were either of your parents musicians?
No. My father worked for the post office. He was a supervisor for the post office. My mother was a registered nurse. So they had music around the house all the time, but
What did they listen to?
Oh, I grew up listening to everyone from Dinah Washington to Moms Mabley, Nat King Cole, Billy Eckstine. I mean, they loved all kinds of music, all styles. So yeah, there was plenty of music in the house being played all the time.
What did they think about you and your interest in percussion?
Oh, they were very, very proud of me. It's funny, my father, I gave my first sample library that I did, which is a recording of percussion sounds and loops that people can use in their films and stuff. I gave my father a copy of it. It's called Supreme Beats. And he used to just put the CDs on and play the CDs.
Oh.
I said, Dad, those are really for, people to sample and use in their music. He said, yeah, but I just like the sound of it. That's you. I like to hear you. Okay, so here's Abu's Bakery. There he is right there, and he's famous for his bean pies. Bean pies are a dessert. It's a dish that the Muslim community made famous. And it's like a sweet potato pie, but made out of beans.
Very good.
So I want to get them a small bean pie each. And me, I'll take a sweet potato. So I came here because it was new, brand new school, new curriculum, out of the neighborhood, close to Coney Island. It had all of those things going for it, so that's why I came here. This is where all of my desires started to really kick off here.